Yes.
To record?
Yeah, we're recording now. I can pause it though.
Never start.
And we're on.
Thank you guys. Welcome to another episode of Chelsea, All Things Chelsea podcast. I got three gentlemen here. You know Uzo, you know Charlie, and we have a new guest in the house. We got Emma. Emma, you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
With pleasure, with pleasure. My people, how's everyone doing? It's fun to be here. I mean, the group is almost like a brotherhood, so it's always great to be here to see Chelsea, also see yourself, Nimi. So Emmanuel here, based out of North Carolina, Chelsea fan since Baba Yaro. Now Baba Yaro carried me go Chelsea. I used to like backflips back then, especially coming off success of Atlanta '96. Then from there, it just went. And then the good times came rolling with Roman, and that was it. Not going back. But fun to be here. Fun to discuss Chelsea things. Disclaimer: I have not coached before because that's what Nimi always used to poke any of my arguments. So I have not coached before or played professionally. So I will just put that disclaimer here. But I know they carry EA FIFA thinking come this kind of analysis. But pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for putting that disclaimer. You have never coached before, so let the coaches in the house, myself, Charles, and Uzo, we have coached before, right?
Yeah,
So
we
we
have
can
coach,
get
but
started, right?
no FIFA badge.
No, no FIFA badge. Okay.
Grade A. No,
We
our
could
own
get
grade Z.
grade C.
Grade,
Okay, we can get started now, real quick. First of all, let me start with you, Uzo. The last time we had this podcast, we had Crystal Palace, we had Porto coming up, and I must give you guys a heads. You guys were spot on your analysis. So far, two games played. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we had CP and the Porto game. As I mentioned, CP. I don't know if you remember. I told you that I kind of had the feeling that even though we hadn't been scoring a lot of goals, that I had that feeling that we're going to have a breakout day of 3-0 against CP. It wasn't 3-0, it was 4-1, so it's close enough. CP kind of favored us in that they sort of backed off our players, gave our players space to play, especially in the first half. And that favored both Jorginho and Kai Havertz, both of who thrive when you give them a little bit of space. They don't really play that well when they're like marked really tightly. The likes of Pulisic, he can play with space. He doesn't really need that much space. And of course, he had a good day with two goals, and also played well against the Champions League game. So hopefully he's fully back. So moving to the Porto game, Porto, we did just enough to get by. I feel we actually played better in the second leg than we played in the first leg, even though we kind of lost the game at the end. But I felt overall, it was almost a perfect game for us. Notwithstanding the fact that we had our usual issues up top with Kai not really being able to impose himself against Porto. The other thing with regards to the Porto game that I noticed is I felt that the referee, the way the referees in both legs actually blew the games favored Porto, because the referees seemed to not be too willing to kind of flash a yellow card. They probably didn't want to put too many players at risk of having to miss the next leg. So they were kind of slow to flash the yellow. Porto's plan was basically to foul. Anytime they lost the ball, they'll just be right on top of us, they'll foul. And so that kind of helped them a lot. And so it's a good thing that we're able to overcome that. And we hope that those two games, the CP and the Porto game, will hopefully help to propel us forward going into the City game on Saturday.
Wow, that's spot on analysis. Thank you very much, Emma. What were your thoughts?
I mean, not to belabor so what Uza has shared. When it comes to Crystal Palace, truth be told, it's hard to say we learned much from there. I think for me, the joy is that when a team shows up with the wrong tactics and with the wrong mentality to play Chelsea, we punish them. And before you labor for 1-0, 2-0 against a poor team. But that game reminded me of Lampard when we beat Everton 4-0. They showed up, Ancelotti showed up with the wrong tactics and we punished them.
Right.
So for me, that's the only joy. Someone showed up not prepared, you punish them. That was good. So beyond that, didn't really learn. They didn't provide enough questions for us to learn too much. Outside of just having a nice feel-good game. The Porto for me was more impressive because it showed a lot about the team's mentality. Like Porto, I mean, I wrote it down there. It was a war out there. Porto was there to fight, and we dished out to them as much as they dished out. Even Jorginho would be like Akpere, where they, no get bodied, as they were nudging him all over the place. He was standing tall. He was still fighting. So for me, that was more impressive, just primarily because, and I know we had the issues in offense. We still have issues in offense. I felt our execution on the counter was poor, but primarily just keeping it locked down. I mean, he had to take a spectacular goal to break us down. And Porto didn't really create much. So we showed up there with the right mentality, and at least on the defensive side, we executed perfectly. I'll just wish, as we move forward, because once you now get to those semifinals, those games become a game of margin where you just have to execute to get the goals. So I hope as we move forward, we can take more advantage. We can sort it out more offensively. But the Porto game, I felt, was overall, at least performance-wise, in terms of champagne football, not there. But in terms of a professional, strong mentality display, I think that was as good as you could expect from the team.
Wow, thank you very much. That was, great analysis. Charlie Conte, what are your views? I must commend you. You were spot on with the formation last week. You were spot on with the play they were going to play. You talked about how lazy. You said they were really lazy in the midfield part. And if they came up with that, we're going to punish them. And, people call you a prophet even at the chat. So what made you come up with that? And, it was to your calling.
So it was actually pretty easy because if you have watched Crystal Palace, their last few games, they have showed their hand and they have struggled. And Roy Hodgson is a dinosaur coach. He hasn't adapted to the times, and he has a lot of tools and doesn't know how to deploy them. And that formation that they are playing is useless. It's rubbish. It doesn't bring out the best in their stronger players. And I knew that if he came to play us with those guys set up the way he has been set up, they were going to get killed. They were lucky that they only got 3 that first half. That first half should have been a 6-0 and annihilation, and they should have brought kids on for the second half to give them playing time. That to me that's unprofessional. And as a player, I'm sure those players they're not stupid now. They are smart. They will see that their coach is setting them up to fail. But Crystal Palace is not my wahala. If their coach wants to set them up to fail against Chelsea, that's their problem. What I liked about the game, and it didn't really translate, was I thought, okay, our guys now would know that we are capable of scoring goals. We are capable of winning by more than 1, by more than 2, so that it will allow for defensive mistakes in the future and for us to be able to overcome them. We have been scraping through 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 type of wins. We needed that breakout game. We needed to load the team 7 goals, and that Crystal Palace team was there for the taking. So I thought, okay, they don't shake body small. They are shaking the net small, and it will help us go further along because the games that we have coming up are going to be a lot more difficult. Unfortunately, what I saw in the second leg, as far as attack, even though it was a little bit more difficult opponent, but more of our issue, as Iman Uzo have alluded to, has been rhythmic. we're not attacking with rhythm. There's always the passes like right behind. It's a little bit late. The runs are not noticed. Things of that nature. That's what playing a yeah team would do for you, is that they allow you to get into rhythm. But when you cannot take advantage of that, when the opportunity presents itself, I start to worry. I start to worry. We have a very big game on Saturday. Like I said last time, I said that game is the FA Cup final. If you win that game, you have given yourself a 95% chance to win a trophy between us and Man City, only because of
Charlie
who.
Conte, we will get to that. I know you're itching to go there. Calm down. What
No,
can
no,
I
no.
what can
I'm tying everything in. I'm tying everything. I'm
oh,
tying
okay, my bad. I'm
Crystal
sorry.
Palace performance to Porto performance and how that would translate to Saturday. Porto, nothing happened that was not expected as far as the outcome. I was a little bit annoyed that they got on the score sheet because we were comfortable the entire game. You see 1-0, you maybe think that tension been there because they only needed one more goal to send it to extra time. Meanwhile, that was not the case. We were comfortable. I don't think Mendy made any save that made us have our hearts in our mouth. Tuchel has done, and his counter pressing that he has installed in these guys, phenomenal, phenomenal. Even when they tried to put us under pressure, they couldn't. And they made it difficult for us to play out of the back, and they won the ball, and we took it back from them. So it was a very very comfortable performance, off without the ball. With the ball, taking advantage of those transitions, like everybody has said, is big 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 issue, big issue. But I think I like the Pulisic Mount Kai interchange positions. I just thought that game was too tough for Kai. But Pulisic and Mount, they more than held their own. But Kai was a little bit off pace, because he was playing like, say, they fear me, they're not going to jam him. And there was a lot of jamming going on in that game. And then also Kante's performance was good without the ball, but I also think a lot of our issues with our attack stemmed from the fact that we're asking Kante to do things that he's very limited at. This injury to Kovacic now means Kante is going to be asked to do the same thing going forward. So whenever that time comes, we'll talk about it. But that's something that we have to be very concerned about.
Thank you very much, Ali. You raised a very good point. If Kante drops down injured right now, where do you guys see us? With Kovacic injured, if Kante drops down injured, what happens? Emma,
I mean, well, is it like, well, Kante is not injured. He's going to start Saturday. But hypothetically, if Kante no day, I think there are two options. There are two options that I think Tuchel will go for before even considering Gilmore. I think he might consider dropping Mason Mount to that CM to pair with Jorginho. It scares me a bit because I don't think both have understanding. And, especially when Jorginho is there, you need someone to be very close to him so that he's not left in an island to defend on his own. The second option might be trying to move RJ to the middle. I think those might be two options to be considered before even considering Gilmore, especially for a big game like this weekend. So those are my thoughts, though. Neither of them. I think I'll prefer RJ just because at least he'll be able to. He's a more natural defender than Mount, but I think first option might be Mount. From from a Tuchel perspective, first option might be Mount. Second option probably RJ. I'll be surprised if Gilmore is taken ahead of those two. Should Kante not be able to play next few games and Kovacic is still out.
wow, thank you, thank you very much. So, guys, we have to, move to the next. Thank you, guys, again. We have to move to the next chapter of this call, of this podcast. We have seen so many issues with our team at Chelsea. You guys could agree with this. We all said it even 2 days ago about the creative. We're missing a creative number 10 on that team who could give those killer passes. Charlie has talked about attack transition, how it ends. I want to put it to you guys. If a player that has come up a lot is Jack Grealish, if Jack Grealish is available right now in the market, let's say in the summer, in terms of next season, Charlie, do we go for Jack Grealish, a player like Jack Grealish?
Um, it's tough to answer that because of the amount of talent that we have in the position that he's going to be playing in. If you are going to bring Jack in, it's going to be at the expense of one of those other guys. Keep in fact that we have spent money on Timo, we have spent money on Ziyech, we have spent money on Kai, and you have to say Mason Mount. You have to almost look at him as a multi-million-dollar player, even though we didn't spend money on on
Pulisic too.
on him, and then we have spent money on Pulisic as well. So if we are bringing a player of that caliber to Chelsea, you have to be willing to get rid of at least one of those guys. And if you are Marina,
We still have RSC and Barkley. Don't forget Ross the Boss and
even Hudson Odoi as well. Even though Tuchel is playing him at wing back now, Hudson Odoi as well. But with the type of football that Jack Grealish has shown in the past 2 years, if he's available for under 70 million pounds, it would be criminal not to take a look at it. Because I was starting this conversation the other day. I was saying we have a lot of numbers in different positions, but we all know that as we are set up right now, we cannot comfortably win the league. Champions League, we might have a shot because it's a knockout competition, but to be at the top, you need quality. In order to get that quality, you have to get rid of some of the quantity that we already have now. Who do we get rid of if we go get a Jack Grealish? I will go get a Jack Grealish personally. I wouldn't mind getting rid of Ziyech, and then I wouldn't mind moving Mason Mount to the bench and having him come off the bench and give Jack Grealish the keys to my offense and let him know that play him in the Eden Hazard role that we have. We don't have to play this 3-4-2-1 that we are playing right now, but we can.
But Charlie, does that mean a formation change?
That's what I'm saying. Like, even though this 3-4-2-1, we're showing that we are comfortable with it, it doesn't mean that we have to stay with it. When a player like that comes in, you have to accommodate him and give him the keys to be able to do what he does best. He has shown that he can do it. If we put Jack Grealish in the Eden Hazard role and spend money on a proper number 9, but be willing to sacrifice some of the players that we've already purchased in Ziyech, telling Mount that he might go to the bench. Hudson Odoi may have to go on loan. Some critical decisions. Even put Timo on the chopping block. Like, dude, bro, produce or you are gone. Because Jack is going to come, and I know that Jack would know in the Premiership, if you give him the responsibility, you give him the same role, he would deliver, especially when he plays amongst better players.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's my opinion on
Thank you very much, Charlie. The same question to you, Uzo. What do you do?
No, I won't sell half of my team because of Jack. Heck no. Yes, he's a very good player, but he's not Eden Hazard level. He's not an unplayable type of chap like Eden Hazard, like Drogba in his prime, like Kaku on any given day that there's no if you put 2 defenders on him, he will shake them off and then keep on moving. I mean, Jack is a player that you add to the piece that you have, and then he can be he can make the difference. Then he can make, but he's not that on a playable type of level. So now, granted, okay, I do agree with Charles in that we can still have a way of playing Jack, but you guys, man, I mean, you guys are selling Mason Mount short for real. You really are. For one thing, he's not going to go to the bench. If Grealish comes, the worst case thing that happen is they will drop Mason Mount to play deeper in midfield, and then that will make space.
Yeah, he might go as a number 8. If we go to 4-3-3, he might go as a number 8, and then
maybe 4-3-3, but maybe not, because for us to go to 4-3-3, we need central defenders that can play 4 at the back, and we don't have that. That's the problem. We just that's the real reason why Tuchel has basically stuck with his 5 at the back.
So
because
invariably, if I'm getting you right, Uzo, sorry to cut you. Invariably, if I'm getting you right, your Marina right now, Grealish is available, and you got to offload 2 players. You wouldn't sanction them.
if Grealish is on the market and he's within our price range, yeah, I agree
No,
with
let's say
that.
Charlie says 70 million. 70 million, he's available. Are you going to do it? It's a point blank question. Are you going to do it or not?
17 million, I will look at it strongly. Yes, I mean, I will likely do it. No, because he's, what is he, 20, he'll be at 26. So, yeah, for at that price and plus he's an English player. So at that price, that's actually cheap for
Okay.
Jack.
So you're going to do it. Which 2 players are leaving? Which 2 players are you telling to go?
Well, again, if you bring in Jack, Mount is going to drop to midfield. So then the issue now is, do you have to sell Jorginho to make room for Mount? So then that will leave you with, sorry, to make room for Jack. That leaves you with Mount in midfield, Kova, Kante, and then Gilmore as the 4th player. But then again, keep in mind that there's a fair chance that Gilmore is probably going to go out on loan anyway, because we don't really need 4 there. We just need 3. And as Emma has mentioned, we can shift James, and we can find any other player if we have to just manage the player for a few games.
Okay, well, we're coming out of time, Uzo. You were a little bit not straightforward with your answer, but we understand. The same question.
Jorginho will go. That's the answer. I don't know.
You said Jorginho and who?
Well, Jorginho is going. Gigi is going. Okay.
No. I didn't say.
And Abraham is also good. No, but remember, we have 25 players on the.
Uzo, we got to move. We got to move on. Uzo, we got to move on. Emma, the same question to you. Your Marina right now, Grealish is available for 70 million pounds. Did you sanction that?
No, I'll pass. Don't get me wrong, Grealish is a good player. I agree with Charles in terms of that Grealish can potentially be a difference maker, like as he ages. But I think we're asking the wrong question. I don't think creativity is, I know passing creativity is a challenge in the team, but I believe we have the answers already within the team. I mean, I believe Ziyech is creative. I think Pulisic is. I'm being honest, because I think our main issue in attack, yes, we have some creativity issues, but I believe between Pulisic, Ziyech, Kai, Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, we have answers. They might not be at that high level. We forget a lot of these guys, with the exception of Ziyech, are like 21, 22. So we have answers. For me, I reframe the question from the perspective of the number 9 and the finishing. So just to give you an example, Crystal Palace game, Kai had 4 quality chances and only scored 1. He had 4 quality chances. So is that and granted, Crystal Palace was a wash game because they didn't show up. Now, if you look at Timo Werner on that Chelsea team, Timo Werner has been, from stats perspective though, and not trying to be too much of a stat merchant, but Timo Werner has missed 16 what the Premier League classified as clear-cut chances. He's missed 16. So even scoring 8 of those will go a long way in solving a lot of our problems. So I just feel, while he's a good player, the question while we're trying to bring him in, I believe we already have solutions. For me, I'd rather bring in like a Modric who can be in the central midfield and be a creative passer than someone like Grealish who's going to slot into a attacking midfield in and out, out and out attacker role, where we already have, in my opinion, solutions for, within the team. And then you bring in a striker that can finish. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're running out of time right now. So from what I could tell, Charlie, if he was Marina, he's sanctioning it real quick. And, tell him, Mount, you're going to the bench. Uzo is a little bit on the fence here and there, yes, no. And Emma is saying, he's saying no, definitely no to Grealish. So we have about 9 minutes to go, guys. Quickly, we have a big game against City. Emma, how big is that game against City? And what do you see happening on that game? tactically?
I think more than any game on that Tuchel, this might be the most defining game of how far the team has come on that Tuchel. I think this is the absolute, one can argue this is the absolute best team Tuchel is going to be facing in his time at Chelsea. And he's had great results from Atletico to Liverpool. The question comes down to, I think our ability to come out with to win that game will come down to two things: how we cope with City's false nine, because except Pep Guardiola throws in a wrench and decides to play Aguero or Jesus as a nine, but I expect them to come with false nine approach. So how we cope with that, because if you remember, that was one thing Thiago Silva complained about in the first game we played against them, this season. And then two, what we do when we have the ball, how quickly can we get up the field and take advantage? I mean, you see some of the goals they considered against Leeds, even against Dortmund, how quickly can we take advantage on transition and, just really use the right mixture of pace, dribbling, guile to try and test their fullbacks, when we get the ball. So I think it probably comes down to those two things. I feel fairly confident that we'll be able to hold our own. Whether that translates to winning, I'm not sure, but I'll go out of the limb and say, 3-1 to Chelsea.
3-1 to Chelsea. That's very bold. Emma, Charlie, the same question. What do you think?
Yeah, so both I feel like both teams have played teams that have kind of prepared them for each other. So we have played Porto in the way that Porto presses is similar to the way that City is going to press us, and we showed that we'll have trouble with it. The difference is City is actually better with the ball. I don't want to use our first meeting with them as a reference point because that was a men against boys game. That really showed the naivety of our coaching crew because they were simply clueless as to what was going on that day. I feel that Tuchel will be a lot more prepared for Kevin De Bruyne and his false positions all over the field because he's the one that Pep is using right now to confuse everybody as far as his position. He has no assigned position. He's popping up everywhere to get plays going. This one passed me as far as how we can get it done. But I'm believing Tuchel will be able to do it. But I also believe that we have become a very, very, very good counter pressing team, even better than Liverpool, who were one of the main pioneers of that here in the last few years. And that's what's been making our defense look a lot better than our personnel says that we should be. We are able to play up high because everybody is working so hard. Kante is an integral part of that now. And also, Jorginho would now be the only issue with those two is we are not going to be having a good enough progression with them, but we will manage. We will manage. The thing is that they will give City problem without the ball, but with the ball, we will have our own problem. If Pulisic, I'm not counting on Mount because when Mount plays against teams that press just as good as he does as a player, he struggles offensively. But Pulisic, on the other hand, can handle a bit of press. If Pulisic can give us one or two moments of magic, this game will be an easy, comfortable 2-0 victory. If Pulisic is feeling the after effects of being fouled 275 times during the week, we're in trouble. I don't want to see Ziyech in that lineup. Don't want to see Timo in the lineup. Stick with Kai. Stick with Kai because the City center backs, apart from Ruben Diaz, are not going to give us as much trouble as Porto gave us. I fancy us for the win. We will struggle offensively, but I fancy us for the win.
Well, thank you. When you say stick with Kai, will Kai be that number 9 that will give them problem? And we will. I think with this false 9, are we going to play 2 false 9s? They play
Yes.
false 9. We're playing 2 false 9 too.
Yes, give them a taste of their own medicine. Let them see what it's like when they are confusing teams out there.
Okay, but they have to talk
Give
about
John.
Kevin De Bruyne.
John Stones has a mistake in him. He's their what's that Spurs center back? He's their Davison Sanchez. He will give you something during the game.
Well,
So give
you
him
very
something to think
much.
about.
Thank you very much, Ali. For me, I would play number 9 there. But Uzo, the same question. What do you think?
I think both Emma and Charles have pretty much said most of it. We know what Pep is all about. High press. They like to hold on to the ball. As Charles mentioned, they play a lot like Porto played against us in that they, I mean, Pep has been doing this since Barca in terms of tactical fouls. I mean, these guys get away with basically murder. That's what they do. And that I would like TT to basically holler at the referees because, you know, everybody knows that if you can get past their press, they don't have any defenders. That's the reality. I mean, that is the actual soft part of City. So they know that once they lose the ball, boom, they're just right on top of you. They're pulling your shirt. They're going to do it about 70 yards away from their goalposts so that it will make it seem like, it wasn't really against the run of play. And the referee would just let it fly. So that's something Tuchel needs to watch. That's actually one of the main keys because if we can get the referee, I think it's Mike Dean. If we can get Dean to issue one or two early yellow cards, then that will actually help us out because then they'll have to back up. And all we need is just a little bit of space to knit our passing game to.
So in terms of prediction, what are you predicting?
In terms of prediction, again, it all depends on the organization of our game from a defensive point of view. If we keep things as tight and as organized as we have been doing, and obviously, like most, I watched the Leeds game, closely, especially how they defended against City when they were playing with 10 men. It pretty much is the blueprint. That's all Tuchel needs them to watch. Is the Leeds game is the way they defended and what they actually did. The few times that they had the ball, what they should have scored 2 or 3 goals on the counter. So yeah, I mean we can beat them 2-0 if we defend well and we are
Uzo, what if we don't? We are not going for that. What is your prediction, Uzo? You're on the spot right now. What is your prediction?
2-1 Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea. Guy, Emma said.
So
I
said 3-1 though.
Oh, 3-1. Sorry. Charlie said 2-0. Uzo, after being pressed by the gavel, he said 2-1. For me,
so Nimi, sorry, I just want to I just had some sort of like flash here. Let's remember something. I think
we got less than a minute.
Okay, this season, just real quick, this season Pep City has played sometimes in a very atypical Pep way. And there's a reason, he has made some adjustments this season compared to previous seasons. Sometimes they drop back and play more of a mid block, not a low block, just a mid block, just to force the other teams, denying passing spaces to force the other team to give away the ball. But just something to keep in mind, because on that game, you might see some adjustments. But this season, there's been a little bit of an atypical Man City Pep style that he's showed.
Thank you guys very much. We're running out of time. We thank you all. And thank you very much for joining. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.